So this is the sari.
Right, they're doing it like this, right? They're mashing it up so.
All right, so let's get started with our first Trinidad Bhojpuri word, GHORAA. GHORAA. Popular mode of transport. For some, it's a pet. For others, it's a popular betting option. GHORAA.
Right. I want to make a reference. It emphasizes how the difference in how you pronounce a word make a difference. So it has a song that goes GHORAA, GHORAA, jaise chal hati jaise tum. And some people will translate that as horse because it says GHORAA, jaise chal means the way you move is like horse, some people say. And then and hati jaise tum, you are like as usual an elephant. But actually it's a rolled R, like in Spanish, and the GHORAA is a udder, like in ladka. So it actually means ghor means like ghanana. Ghor means you hear it in songs. It means dense and thick, right? So it really is that you're dense and thick, and you have the size of an elephant. Whereas GHORAA, udder, GHORAA is a horse. I think I can't make a reference of a song now, but it is mentioned in our local classical as well as our chutney style music. And then reference to wedding songs and stuff. They talk about GHORAA, which pulls the carts that the bridegroom would go on, or at least you remember in the old style Indian weddings that in some even in the Bollywood movies you see the groom moving on a horse. So, it means horse, essentially.
Great. And we move on to our second Bhojpuri word last week, and that was the word SAWATIYA. Now, the word, we have to say hello to those who are now joining this Bhojpuri feature. We have Uday. Uday is from Lucknow. And this word, SAWATIYA, wafted him back to a 60s Bollywood flick, Mujhe Jeene Do, and the song Nadi Nare Na Jao. Now, we had, based on a correspondence, mistress or second wife, the other woman, secret lover, outside woman. And then the word Southern came up, and that seemed to be more popular among the other Bhojpuri-speaking countries. Not so much SAWATIYA.
Right. So I'm going to give a social perspective on the concept of that, right? It's quite important because remember, in Bollywood, people don't take it to note. But in movies like Marao Jan and Devdas and Kalank, people don't take it to note. But usually, and people don't notice, is that the Kathak art form was propagated in the harems of the sultans, right? And we all know the tradition of India itself after the Mughal invasion and the harems. I mean, there are lots and lots of documentaries on National Geographic and History Channel on those, the geisha tradition, and now bringing in the context of indented laborers and men outnumbering women and vice versa. You basically have to look at the ratio of men to women, right? I just want to make this point that, the word I would have known for wife is Randi. And then if you look at the meaning of Sautan, which is the Hindi word, it exists as well. If you do this, it says co-wife, right? So a wife, a co-wife and whatever is a mistress really.
Moving on to our Trinidad Bhojpuri phrase, and you, Dr. Bhimull, you put this one together. And it was refreshing and it made a lot of people blush, I imagine. Pyar ke PHUSAR BATIYAA. So let's start with the PHUSAR because we did that one early.
So it means that whispers. So I just want to reiterate, like Pukani is the word for, because the word Puke means to blow, Puke is an onomatopoeia. It sounds like what sounds when you blow. In the same way, whispers sound like pus, and then it comes to PHUSAR, which would be a suffix at the end, meaning whisper. And you have to add BATIYAA. You can't just leave it as PHUSAR, like the song, PHUSAR, BATIYAA. It means whisper sort of talks. And then PRK means of love. Literally means, well, love talks now. But it doesn't, if you say love talks, it doesn't really resonate on the English population. You say, to whisper sweet nothings in your beloved's ear. So I think if I had to translate idiomatically, it becomes sweet nothings.
All right, so that was our Trinidad Bhojpuri phrase, Pyar ke phusar phusar batiya. Somehow I have a feeling we're going to use this one very often. Moving on to our Trinidad Bhojpuri word, AITWAROO and AITWARIYAA, which were names.
And the interesting thing is that we've lost that. I remember I did research on a project together. Thanks to the Dharmacharya, Rambasad Parasham. Well, he grew up like me in a Bhojpuri speaking environment. So even though he speaks usually standard Hindi, I would always go back to a reference to him. I remember I noticed a pattern, and we now just exploring this in our presentation here, that the names of the week that I heard my Aji say were sounding quite similar to the names. So the word as in Hindi is Aitwar. It becomes the same Aitwar in Bhojpuri, but you add the suffix U, well in this context, Aitwaroo and Aitwariya, Riya at the end, Iya at the end actually. So you add the U and the Iya, and it now forms the girl or boy's name who they were, the days they were born on. So Aitwar is Sunday, so Aitwaroo would be a boy born on a Sunday, and Aitwariya would be a girl born on a Sunday.
Yes, and those who sent in their comments had the same thing to say, born on a Sunday. Well done. And we usually wrap up with a food-related word or something that's edible. We went with the word PANJAREE. So I would need a spell check here for PANJAREE because I'm not sure if I had it correct on the page. So is it PANJAREE, or is it PANJAREE?
I say PANJAREE as a child, PANJAREE. So PANJAREE, or I if you want. Etymologically, I'm not sure. Because, I mean, you don't know the word punch.
Yes.
Like you go and buy a punch, a chana punch.
Yes.
It comes from punch, like punch amrit, meaning a punch, a drink made with 5 ingredients. In similar way, I think, I don't know how it's related, but they have laddu with different things, and they usually would have laddu, besan laddu, and this kind of laddu. We only have one type in Trinidad. Yes. But then we have remnants of things like satwa, which is a powder that used to be made into a ball like laddu. Satwa actually is the same chili bibi, but the 5 ingredients. And we would roll into a ball like laddu. PANJAREE, as a child growing up, I know you make it to put on the parsad. It's part of the mohanbog, and then the parsad itself is essentially everything put together. Fruits, raisins, sometimes they put chana in it, and I don't like that. I prefer put almonds. And then, because I don't like the taste of the chana. And it's with banana and stuff. And then I remember, not often, they would put PANJAREE. But PANJAREE, I don't see it anymore. It's usually, of course, rice flour with sugar and black pepper.
All right, so let me read some of the comments. So, prasad of rice, ground rice used in a prasad offering for Satnarayan Katha, grind rice with sugar, grind rice you get with prasad. Nalini, who is in Suriname, said it's raw rice baked golden brown with some ghee in a pan, ground coarsely, and then you add some sugar. And yes, it's one of the 7 types of prasad, but they call it PANJAREE in Suriname. Do you know that?
So I'll give an example. We will probably use it at some later point if people listen to this, remember. So this word, khatir, right? We use it in Bollywood. But it's an old word. It means liye, right? So ke liye in Trinidad Bhojpuri, I say ke khatir, right? So hamar khatir for me. But when we go in Suriname, they say khartin. Hamar khartin. And I would hear it, and because I would hear it, because of the context, I would assume what it would mean, because it sounds quite similar to khatir. So again, it has to do with those areas where they would have recruited people from Suriname, which is more westward, as opposed to us, which is eastward, and then westward after. Certain words would be lost here. Maybe they used to use it, and then it's not there anymore. So it's possible that the pronunciation you gave would be a valid pronunciation. I'm not sure, because now she's describing it as something different.
Yes.
But it sounds quite similar. So you also have to, I guess, when you're analyzing data, look at the fact that, well, maybe it used to be made like that. Remember, we look at the Imli context and mango versus tamarind.
Yes, correct.
because of
yes.
availability. So again, this could be another example of that.
Well, it's interesting because Sudhir says Panjari is made of ground rice, inki, and other ingredients for prasad. Well, they all have the same context
thing,
that
yeah.
it's made for prasad, right? Pratik says Panjari means the ribs. And Panjiri is prasad made in puja. What is also interesting is Jamuna Prasad, who I believe is also from India, said that in his village, Panjiri is the has something to do with the chest or your ribs.
But this is what we call homophones, right?
Yeah.
So there was a linguist in Trinidad who made the point of names like Sid Madhuri Dixit,
Yes.
but the X is really Ksha, right? So it's really Madhuri Dixit,
Yeah.
right? Dikshit is somebody who would have attained Guru Diksha, right? So a Dikshit is an initiated person. Guru Diksha is the whole ceremony. So I remember mentioning to my mom, well, Madhuri Dikshit, and mommy was like, stop being funny. Why you say that? And I was like, Mom, that's pronunciation. But that's how I learned Hindi. Now this lecturer gave an example of that and said, well, it's the whole idea of mispronunciation, but that's the actual word. So again, this is another example where you have a homophone, where it sounds similar, but is actually different.
Hey, thank you guys so much for contributing to Trinidad Bhojpuri Words and Phrase. This is a KDC production in collaboration with Caribbean Hindustani. If you'd like to get in touch with Dr. Visham Bhimull, here's how you do so.
Yeah, so Caribbean Hindustani, which is on Facebook as well as YouTube, and then there's CaribbeanHindustani.org, all available online.
I'm Karen Das. Catch you for the next weekly recap.